Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Phillips, the Executive Director at the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce, joining you tonight. This is part of our series, just our weekly business updates every Thursday at 4. And so we'd love to have you join us. It's the same link every week on Zoom. So feel free to join us again any Thursday, 4 o'clock. Just use that Zoom link. The Chamber of Commerce is a member-based organization, but that does not mean we only serve our members. We're here to help answer questions for any of our businesses to help you succeed, especially during this really tumultuous time with COVID-19. So without further ado, I'd like to give you guys a few of the updates you need to be aware of for this week on January 14th. So the big news here in Kodiak is that the ESC just announced that we will be entering from red status to yellow status tomorrow at 8 a.m. So January 15th, 8 a.m., our businesses are now in yellow status, which means 50% occupancy. We've been at 25% occupancy for a better part of a month now, and we're just so fortunate to have our cases reducing and fewer hospital stays. And so the ESC did determine that it was safe to operate at 50% capacity. So that's especially helpful, I know, to our venue operators and our restaurant operators, anyone in that hospitality industry. It makes a big difference. So that's great news. Hopefully we can continue to get vaccinations and lower case counts and have that open back up in the green level. We did have our high school and all of our schools actually go back to in-person classes this week. And so far, there has not been an issue to my knowledge, but hopefully we can continue to keep that up. I know that that's helpful for our businesses, making sure that their employees have an opportunity to come to work and aren't stuck at home with their children trying to do homeschooling. That's a really tough thing to navigate. So some other really big news that we have going on was the federal aid has begun to hit the country here starting on Monday, January 11th. On the 13th, they began opening for some different lenders. Not everyone was included, and actually no financial institutions that I'm aware of in Alaska qualified to have applications open on Wednesday, but starting tomorrow, I know at least of one of our financial institutions here in Kodiak, First National Bank Alaska, and I'm sure a couple others that we're just waiting to hear back from, are going to be allowed to begin the application process for PPP, first and second draw. This is huge news. I know that many of you have had questions about the Payroll Protection Program, and otherwise known as the PPP. There's a couple different things that you need to be aware of. If you have received PPP funding previously, you very likely qualify for a second round of PPP funding. If you did not qualify previously, a lot of changes have been made, and I would encourage you to go ahead and apply through a financial institution of your choice to go ahead and get that PPP funding for first round. They've opened it up for a lot of 1099 sole proprietor employees and employers. 501c6 organizations have been added to that. So we have most organization types are now covered. Most of our businesses here in Kodiak should qualify. So if you have specific questions, you're welcome to ask them or give us a call. We're always available at the office, 907-486-5557, or you can email me directly at chamberdirector@kodiak.org. We are here for your questions. So that's just a really broad overview of the PPP. Some of my previous videos have gone a little bit more over details of that. Again, you're welcome to watch those videos or reach out to me directly. I'm happy to make those connections. The biggest words of encouragement I can offer are reach out to multiple financial institutions. The last time around, there were restrictions that, sorry if you can hear my dogs in the background. There were restrictions the first time around that not all banks got access to the funds or were able to get all their customers access to funds because there were customer restrictions. For the most part, we're hearing that those customer restrictions have been removed. So even if you don't have a relationship with that financial institution, you should still be able to reach out to them to set up that PPP. So it's a huge amount of funding, something that you should absolutely try to take advantage of. The next type of funding that you can look forward to is EIDL grants and loans. So the EIDL program originally did a $10,000 stimulus per business, and they really quickly ran out of funds. So most of our businesses saw that they could only get maybe $1,000 per employee, or that they couldn't qualify for any money because the money was just gone so quickly. They are opening that back up. We don't have final word on when. I believe the EIDL loans are currently open, so you can reach out to the SBA to go ahead and get on their list to qualify for one of those very, very low interest loans. But if your interest is more in the grant side, we're still waiting for information on when that grant is going to open again. Last time the website crashed, and so I know they're trying to avoid that in the future. So we'll see what kind of options we get coming here. But we have been told that that $10,000 amount is still what we should expect. If you have received any portion of that $10,000 grant, you are eligible for the rest of the $10,000. So we received $7,000 at the chamber. We're eligible for $7,000 more in that grant. If you received none, you're eligible for the full $10,000. Some businesses were also confronted with the issue of when they applied for the EIDL grants as well as the PPP, the amount of EIDL grant that they received reflected negatively on their PPP. So they weren't able to get the full amount of PPP. The EIDL amount that they had already received was subtracted from their PPP. So that's no longer the case. Nothing is mutually exclusive between the EIDL and the PPP program. So I really encourage you to try to take advantage of both if you're able to. Now, with the PPP, I did forget to mention that with anyone doing a second draw, it is not as simple to get funds this time around. You do have to show a 25% loss in a quarter of 2020 compared to 2019. So that's just bouncing back there. Okay, so we've talked about the PPP and the EIDL. Next up, I want to talk about this brand new program called the Shuttered Venue Operators. And so that is another grant, and that is really meant for venues that rely specifically on ticket sales for most of their revenue through the year, or that rely on live events for most of their revenue. So a lot of the places that qualify here locally are going to be theaters, and whether it's the movie theater, the Kodiak Arts Council, as well as some of our museums and convention centers. And the rodeo and state fairgrounds should also qualify for this grant this time around. And so the way that this one works is you take all your 2019 ticket sales and you submit that, and you get 45% of those ticket sales from 2019. So that one's a very simple process, high amounts of funds. Unfortunately, this one cannot be combined with the PPP. So that's one exception. The last program that can be taken advantage of, and I'll have to refer to my notes so that I don't get it wrong here, is the Employee Retention Tax Credit. The Employee Retention Tax Credit is a program that you can take advantage of each quarter of 2021, the first 2 quarters of 2021, as well as a couple quarters back in 2020. Now, again, this program was mutually exclusive. You could not have this and the PPP or the EIDL. And so now none of these programs are mutually exclusive. You're able to take advantage of the PPP, the EIDL, and the Employee Retention Tax Credit all at the same time. So refer to your accountant, but you do need to show a loss of 20% in any one quarter of 2020 compared to 2019 to be able to qualify for this grant. And it's less of a grant, it's more of a tax credit. And so this is used against your payroll tax credits or your payroll tax. So if you pay less taxes for your employees than you receive in this credit, the IRS will actually give you a check. So please feel free to reach out. There's obviously a lot of specifics on each of these programs. And each of these programs, I know I attend hour to 2 hour long presentations on each of these programs to make sure I understand each of the details. I won't have you suffer through any of those, but I do encourage you, please, again, reach out directly to me for any questions about any of these programs. Myself and my community relations director, Jenna Lowmaster, are pretty well versed in all this information. And if we don't have your exact answer, we know where to find your answer. So please reach out to us. Again, you can reach us at the office, 907-486-5557, or you can email me directly, chamberdirector@kodiak.org, or the Community Relations Director, Jenna, at crd@kodiak.org. Other than that, I don't see anyone else live on the line right now with us. So if you happen to have any questions, again, I can't say it enough, reach out to us. We're available, but we're really thrilled to see this positive progress with both our community going into the yellow status from the red status, as well as having this financing coming available. So again, reach out. A lot of loan programs are opening tomorrow. So be prepared, start application processes early because we just never know how long this money is going to last. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening.